So if you would, I actually learned this from Gibran Rivera yesterday. So this is very simple. Just look at something that hopefully is not your screen, maybe just a little bit above your screen. And just feel the sensation of being alive. And then look over your left shoulder, not just with your head and eyes, but just with your body, twisting your spine. Look over your left shoulder as you continue to breathe. And then come back to your focal point. And then look up. Gently. And then look down. And then centering your head, look over your right shoulder. Again, turning with your whole body. And then you can return to your focal point. So we're all here today to live life as an honor and in Thanksgiving, as the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address goes. And I'm speaking to you from Lenapehoking, Manhattan land in Brooklyn. And I just wanted us to return to just the simple fact of life and the simple fact of knowing where we are and what it is that we have to offer and what it is that we are caring for, and remembering that all of us have this same sensation, and that, as Tyrion said, that circle of concern can expand to all of us. Yeah, really, you all have said so very much, and I really am here humbly to just say that today is a day that we didn't become free on Juneteenth. We, of course, already were free, but it's the day that we got the message of freedom, of jubilee, of emancipation. And that's what I want to emphasize today, that people all over the world are getting that message. People in companies are saying Black Lives Matter when those words were anathema just 6 years ago. White people are talking about white supremacy. I mean, again, that was just only a term that was applied to the KKK. And now we understand it as a system that we're all participating in and enabling. So we're in a place with kente cloth on the Speaker of the House, kneeling, people, white folks calling me from all times of my life, asking me how I am. We're also in a performance of solidarity. There's a lot of recreational protesting that really is a relief for people who have been stuck at home and didn't get to go to Coachella and not going to be able to go to Burning Man, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. A friend of mine, a Black friend, told me that a white dude came up to him at this bike protest in Brooklyn last weekend and just said, I could do this every Saturday. And while, of course, the idea that it is a frivolous thing to fight for the lives of people who are being hanged, being shot, being killed, I also want to posit that we embrace that fighting for freedom can be fun, all right? And that if we are having fun, if we are taking joy in what it is that we do, we can hold all of those people who are recreational at it only to keeping with it, you know? Today, we're celebrating our resilience as Black people, our ancestors' toils. Thank you so much, Dr. Somerville, for that libation. And we're just recognizing we're alive because of their struggle. I come to you as someone whose father was shot by the police before I was born. He almost died. The bullet entered his shoulder and exited about a quarter of an inch from his spine. So I might not have been here were it not for that quarter of an inch. I am alive because of the struggle of him, of my mother, of my aunt. We're here today celebrating Black trans power, LGBTQ pride as a whole, because we know being human is intersectional. And we're celebrating the Supreme Court's upholding of DACA because immigrants are every color. And concentration camps and family separations and walls are something that Black people know too well. We're celebrating the new harm reduction policies and the wave of support about the abolition of policing as we know it. And we're celebrating that people are understanding in a new way that social inequities lead to health disparities and that environmental and climate destruction affect the poor and people of color much more. And the church clock down the street rang its bells to the Black national anthem today. We're at an inflection point, a potential paradigm shift because of all the work that you all have been doing that has been done. And we have these new historical and economic conditions that of course mirror the ones that were spoken about in the Kerner Commission, but we have all this new language. And in this moment with this foundational contention with anti-Blackness in our pandemic and our economic halt, we are joining together as sisters and brothers and folks of all genders, Black, Asian, Pacific Islander, Latinx, Middle Eastern, Native, white. We're all coming together to end the violence against Black bodies and to end all forms of violence that terrorize this country. So there's this emotional and social, psychological longing that is transforming into action and into political will. But we have to use this energy in a fun way, right? To change the structures that maintain this violence, because we know that there are these economic and cultural and unconscious biases. There are these long-held, unquestioned narratives that keep us treading water, because we had worldwide protests over George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, but Rayshard Brooks still got shot. The police union in Albuquerque actually at one time was offering $500 as a bonus to officers who have killed people in the line of duty. So there are these larger issues that we're all here dedicating ourselves to today, joyfully. So I just want to say that I don't make speeches. Tyrion does that. Professor Sellis does that. My Aunt Angela does that. But I had to step up today because Tracy called and because you all decided to be here. And I just want to keep reminding us that these economic inequities, if we remember that slavery itself ended due to the economic gain that it would engender if it were abolished. That happened prior to a consensus. And of course, it actually took us into a state of war. And the economic issues are so hard right now while unemployment is so high and people have such serious food and housing insecurity globally. But what I'm really just leaning on is that we now can see how broken the system is and that we have to do this work to undo these scarcity models and undo the deep greed and do that internal work to see where it is that we are holding on and not letting people into that circle of concern, as Tyrion was saying. And she mentioned John Powell, and I also want to mention John Rawls and the Veil of Ignorance. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that as theory, but it just asks us, if we were to begin a new social contract, would we set ourselves up for all of us winning versus some winning and some losing? And the answer is that we would set ourselves up for all of us living, and we have that opportunity today. And we can begin with something like what you said about curb cuts. It's so funny because I've been talking about the work that the Center for Independent Living did in terms of disability rights for years. And I thought I came up with that theory, but apparently they did. And so did Angela Blackwell. How when we work for those on the margins, we benefit all of us. So I am a writer, I'm a performer, I work in television and film and theater, and I recognize how powerful representation is, that what it is that we watch, what enters our lizard brain, that can have life or death consequences. I'm so glad Cops has been canceled, but this is some work that we all are having to do, and that I'm having to do as a cultural worker, is to really listen and to re-envision in conversations like these, in being in institutions and in relationships where we are making the images that then affect how it is that we think about the unknown, right? We think about how our dreams have been presented on screens, right? And we have to make sure that those dreams aren't nightmares. So I want to change those narratives so that they don't bind me or us into further oppression. And that takes a lot of dedicated work and lots of play, an embrace of conflict, a deconstruction without the violence that created the old paradigm, and reconstruction of a new paradigm peacefully. So I just want to say two more things. I hope that this has been of some use to you. I really do. There's a term in Hinduism called lila, divine play. And I also want to place us, just as we started off placing ourselves in our bodies, in a larger geologic and cosmological time frame, that we can take comfort in that we are in the process of something much bigger than what it is we are even conscious of, are able to be conscious of. I'm also thinking right now in this Hindu paradigm that I'm invoking right now, of the story of Siddhartha, right? That he becomes enlightened, but he doesn't necessarily get what he wants by the end. So we may not get what we want, we may be dissatisfied or hurt, but we do all we can to get as close to freedom and equality as these bodies will take us. And just a final thing, back to this concept of joy and keeping that with us. One time I was doing I think it was a radio show with Angela, just an interview. And I was talking about her and saying, oh, you know, she works tirelessly on behalf of all of us to end oppression and for liberation of all people. And, you know, and I talked about it like it was a chore, really, you know, that she's been doing all of this hard work so that the rest of us could just, you know, not do it, or just hang out on the side and just benefit from it, right? And be a free writer. And she said to me, and to everyone who's listening, have you ever considered that I find joy in what I do? So I want to leave that with you, that we will continue to mourn, we will continue to rage, we will continue to take care of our communities and love our communities, and that is all work, but we also get to find joy in this. And that's what I want us to continue to think about in all of these moments that we have, creating a new paradigm.